Welcome to episode 94 of What If Civilization Started Over. Let's get into it. So, last episode, one giant thing happened. Welcome to World War Six. Yeah, this is a pretty large event, and it started with Russia being like, hey, we've had enough with what Rome has been doing, not only to the Mediterranean, also people of Europe, Africa, and also entire country, as the Black Sea and the Baltic is being drained, and our territory is being sunken because of this. Yeah, and also the Black Sea as well, as many other countries that profit off of this area, or just literally survive off of this area, like Egypt, do not like Rome at all. And Russia's had enough, so they declared war on the Romans, and because of that, the Romans declared war on the Russians, officially starting World War Six. Let's start. So the Russians are going to continue their invasion of this blue country here, and will be very quickly going ahead and capturing its capital, as it's one of the weakest countries in these alliances. As the Lime team will also be going ahead and pushing their militaries. The thing is, Rome has been preparing for this. They expected something like this to happen. The small countries would fall sort of quickly, like these. And unlike every other world war, Istanbul hasn't been going back and forth. Oh wait, the war just started, so that's not happening yet. But Istanbul just is barely even a major city anymore, as the Black Sea is now the lake, just a lake. Yeah, as the Russians will be pushing back. But the Romans made sure to mobilize their armies over in areas like here, like the Green Team, for example, as they are like probably one of the smartest countries militarily in the world. But with the Yellow Team, they will be going ahead and destroying the Green Team alongside the Blue Team, and only a few Roman troops going through here, as they know that the Green Team is just impossible to supply. Just look how small it is. And they don't have any allies nearby except you, but you're being cut off. And also, these little tiny bits thingies here, the Romans didn't supply any of them at all, as they knew that they would fall no matter what. Even with thousands of troops in them, they would just fall. Just look at their locations. So, well, yeah, these are what the front lines looks like so far. The Yellow Team is going to get revenge back on the Iberians for the 40 millionth time in history, as the Iberians are losing to the Yellow Team pretty badly. The Yellow Team's main focus is the Iberians in Western Europe, as they don't really have anywhere else to go. But their plan is like after they destroy the Green Team, which they've already done, they would knock out the Iberians by themselves so the Romans can focus on other nations, and then eventually send some forces down to Africa. But the Romans will only send like 2,000 troops. But the Iberians are so weak right now, as a majority of their troops are on this front line, as the Yellow Team goes ahead and absolutely destroys them. And the Romans are still very small militarily, as they can't change. And now that the Yellow Team has defeated their allies here, they may want to leave this up to the Yellow Team. But they might not want to do that. They might want to hold a steady front line there. Who knows? When we go over here, these countries are actually pushing back across the newly formed American Union. What is this dot here? Huh? What country is it? Oh, is this the old capital? What is this? What's from the Alliance layer? Okay. Let me make sure to get the right layer. But what will be happening is that these countries will actually be doing pretty well against the newly formed American Union. This is because the Union is newly formed and, well, it's pretty hard. They're just kind of still trying to situate their government, but that's going to be a little hard when they're in World War Six. Not the largest conflict in history, but a pretty major one. Probably the newest major world war. Definitely the newest major world war. As the Floridian country is also pushing up, as Mexican forces are also going up here. And these front lines are winning. The Romans, it turns out their main focus is on Russia or Africa. They have set a goal in order to fully knock out this blue country. They want to do it so they could just kind of knock it out. because it's a pretty big thorn. They fully, like, the front lines look like this. They fully surround it, but this exists instead as this, so if they can get this, they can knock that out of the way and push back against African nations. Yeah, so that's what they're going to attempt to do. As the Libyans will be going ahead and invading the Saharan territory pretty rapidly, as they will eventually capitulate the country, as the country, well, doesn't surrender, because they want to make sure that their allies can win. Yeah. But the Egyptians will be pushing back against the Libyans over in this area, as Rome expected. But they will be going ahead and capturing the capital of Rome, as a new goal is made by Egypt. Fully capture this country, capitulate it. This country's border hasn't changed since decolonization, except for occupation zones and world wars, but does that really count? Like actual treaties, officially set borders, this thing hasn't changed. But Egypt wants to change that as they take the capital of this nation and fully separate this giant front line here from the rest of from these two countries. It's pretty bad. Going over here, we can see that the new Indian unification is losing a lot, mainly for the same reason as America. For America, this is newly formed. These have been around for a while. Yeah, same thing. This is newly formed. This has been around for a lot longer. Yeah. So basically, they've just still setting up their government, and this is actually a very strong country for its location. It does have a lot of people in Bangladesh, but not as much as India in real life, but they're still trying to set up their military and government. So this thing is absolutely destroying them. And they are looking, for some reason, they're putting troops on this country's border for some reason. And so are these guys, which is kind of making this blue country a little bit worried, but who knows what will happen. When we go over here, the Roman military, like Roman troops, are everywhere, as mainly a lot of them are in the Middle East, as these countries kick the Persians out of Arabia. And this orange one is going to go ahead and reach the Red Lake coast. Yeah, it's a lake now. And, well, so will this country will also reach the Red Lake. Yeah. But they will be sort of failing in the south over here with one of the strongest countries in the world being this gray country. Yeah. But they still have to fight against these fires. That's something. I'll update that later. But what's going to be happening is the gray team is going to be focusing on this front line here as they go ahead and try to knock out this country. This is a very big country that has been around for a while. I think they unified during the Cold War, like 20-ish, 30 episodes ago now. That was 30 episodes ago? Doesn't feel like the Cold War, or really World War III, was 30 episodes ago. Well, I guess it was. As this country will be capitulating. And as these front lines will push in, the Egyptians will just take all this area. And this country is forced to capitulate, which is pretty bad. When it comes to this front line, the green country pushes back, and eventually this country is just forced into surrendering. And now the Romans can officially send their fronts, and they make a stable front line across this area. Or just like a barrier. But during all that, the capital of this nation was taken, and this very newly formed unification, it's been around for I think like 2 episodes, but that's like enough-ish time to like get situated. They got a lot of help from joining 3 economical alliances, mainly Brazil's, or the South Americans one. Yeah. When we go over to the front line in Turkey, Turkey is pushing back against Russia, as Russia has lost a large part of the military. Wait, what? What happened? Huh? What? What just happened? I guess that's what I have other layers for then. Did the layers mess up? I think they did, but let's not worry about that. I have another layer I can fix it with. But, well, the Russians will be being fully pushed out of Turkey. And the capital of this nation is recaptured by Turkey. And they will continue pushing back. Over this front line, Rome is going to steamroll this country, as just look at their border, and it's very giant, so they would be able to push back. But the Lion team is also able to push back and take the capital of this country, or not, or get close to. But this blue country will be falling very quickly, as the Romans don't really care about it, and they publicly admit it the day that they fall and surrender. Yeah, as Rome even takes and occupies some of this territory. But the pretty big German Roman puppet state thingy-majiggy is going to be pushing back as they take some of the Danzigian area and start pushing towards the capital of the Lithuanian country. The new Roman puppet state, or pretty old actually, but it's been around for a while, but is going to push into Danish areas, which is not the Danish Isles, but is now the Danish landmass. Yeah, as they actually go ahead and take the capital of this country, which is really bad, as they will continue to go ahead and take more territory from the Black Sea. Yeah. Front lines not looking good in Europe for the Russians specifically. As well, the Turkish are pushing up or back in Egypt and the Israeli areas and push towards the capital. Turkey has been building up. It's just revealed. Turkey has just been building up for this, as they kind of blitz these areas very quickly. And so will this country here, as they will be pushing back. And well, this is not looking good for the Russians right now. Especially since India is on the verge of collapse. As this thing, the people are losing faith in the Indian unification and surrendering over to the giant thing of the Myanmar country that has been absolutely demolishing India. Oh my, I wish Yemen, I'm pretty sure Yemen would wish that they had this sort of India in World War, like 5? Yeah, World War 5. Yemen probably wish they'd have that, but they don't, and they didn't. But India will just almost lose their capital, as they just won't be able to make a steady front line there. That's the thing. Yeah, they make that steady front line. But the Americans are pushing back as they finally situated their military over in the west. The east of the country, they're still having some instability from many countries and areas ruling this place, that history of this planet. Yeah. As the Floridians will actually go ahead and be able to siege the capital from the Americans. And America is just losing really badly to the American fronts. Yeah, it's not very good. This country is going to go ahead and capture these lakes. These lakes that Rome single-handedly formed by invading this red country once. And they just forced this Roman area to capitulate. And the Romans are being pushed back over in the African front. But they are still having many successes over with Turkey, as Turkey is one of the strongest militaries in the world as they go ahead and capture Egypt. One of the reasons is because they've lost a majority of their water sources because of the whole draining thing. Yeah. But who knows how long this will last, as Egypt is just losing all of its Nile territory to Turkey. And a bunch of these regions are just forced to surrender over. Oh yeah, wrong way. Forced to surrender over to Libya as Egypt starts collapsing. As these Libyan fronts just go ahead before any other country can occupy them. Just go ahead and fully occupy this territory. It's not very good. But this country, these two, will actually meet up. And now I'm realizing that these two colors are very similar. Who knows? They are different. But, okay. Turkey is continuing to push back, as the Romans will continue to go ahead and still demolish the Lion team. The Lion team is just getting absolutely demolished, and they are just forced to surrender. They get destroyed that badly. They are destroyed within a matter of like the first months of World War VI, and Turkey is pushing through the new Black Sea territory, as they have some experience invading and colonizing unowned territories, as they will actually be able to fully occupy the whole Black Sea coastline. No, Black Lake coastline. Yeah, as this is the front line. And well, the capitals are just being reached by even more as the Romans continue their advances. And well, it's not looking good for the Lithuanian country, as the German puppet state goes ahead and gets very close or just on the outskirts of the capital of the Lithuanian country in Vilnius. Yeah, it's not looking very good for anybody right now if you're Russian or supporting of the Russians. Not very good. When we go to the Middle East, we can see that this country is being pushed back a lot. As well, basically, nobody is really supporting this country. Well, they are a strong country, but more is supporting these guys as their capital is taken. And the Romans make another push in Africa. As Africa has kind of fallen pretty, a lot to these square lines, and they are hoping to, sort of, connect it and disconnect this country. But we've got to update the forest fires now, as these forest fires are absolutely demolishing this country, as all this coastline is taken, and these fires are... Wait, should I do them? No. Wait, what? Something. Let's just mainly do it down south. But no. Let's not do them, for some reason. But the Libyans will be using their thousands, millions of Roman troops. Oh boy, I forgot these colors are so similar, so I can barely tell the difference, but... Well, the Libyans will be capturing the capital of this Red Nation. This Red Nation, who knows if its borders were changed as a result of the peace treaty of this war. But the rest of its territory will be going ahead and being occupied by this great country. And well, it's looking like it's going well for the Romans. But something big is happening. Something from the sky has just landed over in Germany, specifically right here in Berlin. And nobody knows what it is, but it's said to look like a futuristic human. A human from another world that isn't recognized by anybody. People go ask him, and he talk to him, and they understand him perfectly, as he has a language translator. They ask his name, and the name he gives is Alex Einstein, the creator of this world, is what he says to these people. And well, these people leave and go tell the Roman capital. And well, they are baffled, and Roman troops are sent up to this area. And that is going to do it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed today's episode of What If Civilization Started Over. See you in the next episode where we will continue World War VI. Bye!